It's Monday, so we must be embracing debate. Welcome to Embrace Debate here on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. You can find on any major podcast platform. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by from the four-man rush, Monti, Fetti, and from the Carolina Cat Chronicles, Cody, Lachney. Every Monday morning, get your weekend or get your week set up, ready to go with some debate. You can join in on the debate. Just find us on youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio, or you can go find us on Facebook Watch, comment into the comment screen, and it'll show up on the screen just like this, like Alexander Blonde here, who's checked in early. What's up, Panther Nation? And Jay Issue is also in the house, keep pounding. So appreciate the love we've been getting so far from people coming in, checking us out. Podcast network, just brand new, open it up, got some more stuff coming down the pipe for you guys, so we'll definitely get into that later on. About 30 minutes or so we'll go this morning. If you want to participate in the debate, again, like I said, you can do so. Cody, Monty, what's happening, fellas? How was your weekends?
Mine was good, man. Mine was good. Had a great weekend, a restful weekend. Got some much needed R&R, so now I'm well rested to piece up Monty on these debate streets like I'm so ought to do.
Oh man,
Monty, what's up, man?
What's going on, fellas? Nah, man. Off like what Cody said, it was very, it was non-eventful for me. So that's always a good thing, in my opinion. When you have nothing really planned, just relaxing all weekend. Saw some good basketball games this weekend, and yeah, man, I'm ready to, to duke up Cody for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I ended up calling a high school baseball game Wednesday night.
Oh, that's
luckily that team lost, so I didn't have to call Thursday night, and then I had to go to East Greensboro, produce A&T baseball Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday afternoon, plus a basketball game right after that on Sunday, and my live show Saturday morning. So yeah, it's just been like one long 36-hour day.
Desmond's out here.
Honestly, he's working, brother. That's what's up.
I'm sitting looking at today. I'm like, do I want to take the day off? I should take the day off. There's stuff going down, but I mean, it's Monday, so I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that we've got Embrace Debate in the house, and I wanted to trim it down because we're out of the season or whatever. The draft is over. The schedule release is Thursday. We'll probably get into that a little bit next week, but I wanted to trim this down to a couple of topics that we could actually really expound on and let the audience participate in as well. And the two that I landed on this week, we talked about this a couple shows ago, and we were like, yeah, we'll save it for a later show after the draft. No better time than now. Which Carolina Panthers defense is the best defense in Panthers history in your mind to date? Meaning, if you had to trot out 1 year of Carolina Panthers defense out of the 27 plus years that they've existed, which year would you land on first and why? I'll let you guys decide which one of you want to go first, or I can flip a coin, or however way you want to do this.
I'll let Cody go. Go ahead, Cody.
You want to hit Cody?
Yeah, man. So listen, if I'm going first, I went back and forth in my head between two different seasons, and I know that Monty's going to take the other one. So I'm going 2015, bro. And, I know that, if you look at recent memory for the Carolina Panthers, defense has been our calling card. And if you look at that 2015 team, that's when everything came together in perfect fashion, man. In a way that I don't think we've seen in a very long time. We were dominant on the interior of our defensive line with K1 Short and Star Latulele. Charles Johnson was still on the team, making moves. We traded for Jared Allen. And then, for my money, looking at that season, that's when Luke Kuechly became the absolute monster that we all know him to be, man. I mean, he was flying around the field in control of the defense. Him and Thomas Davis, they were the junkyard dogs, man. Just absolutely running stuff on the field. And, that's also when we saw the best of Josh Norman and everything that he was doing on that team and the way he was just shutting down a lot of number one wide receivers. And no matter what anyone says about Josh Norman now, no one will ever be able to take that 2015 season away from my man Josh, bro. That was just absolutely incredible. And then, another name from that team that does not get enough love is none other than Kurt Coleman. He was balling that year, taking the ball away from opposing teams, flying around the football field. You have that game against the Dallas Cowboys. Luke and Kurt Coleman went off. in that game, intercepting passes, taking it back to the house. That Super Bowl run was so memorable for us for so many different reasons. And part of it was because of that defense and what they were able to do and how they would just jump up to these big time leads over football teams. And, they had no chance because then when you add in what our offense was able to do, it was just a 1-2 punch that was just too much for people. So, I know there's been some great Panther defenses, but because that 2015 football team was so special, yeah, I have to say 2015, man. In my fandom, 2015 was it.
Yeah, I thought that one might come up. That defense committed or caused 39 regular season turnovers. It dwarfed the next highest total of 33 from the Cardinals. No team has matched the 39 turnovers in the 4 seasons since Carolina went on its takeaway spree. And this was written in 2019. I don't think anyone's done that since then anyway, from 2019 on. It was 24 interceptions that led the league and 15 fumbles. Kurt Coleman's name pops up here. He had 7 picks. It tied him for 3rd in the league. Colin Jones had 1. Kuechly and Davis each had 4 interceptions. AJ Klein had 1. That's crazy. The safeties and the linebackers on 2015 had 17 interceptions in 16 games.
That's crazy.
Just taking the ball away, man. That's what we were known for, and that's what we did at a higher clip, better than any other team. We made history.
I found this. I don't know. Well, it should play. Hold on. I found this. Many of you will remember the Cowboys Thanksgiving game.
Oh, yeah. When he stiff arms Tony Romo.
And that was Tony Romo's last play of his career. Like that ended his career. Like literally
his last game.
Yeah. So here's the Spanish.
Ahí está Charles Johnson, se va a querer meter. ¡Intercepción!
Like, I remember this play like yesterday, man.
It still gives me goosebumps, bro. Oh, man.
Touchdown! ¡La viste! ¡La mediste! ¡Báilale!
And this is stiff arm at the end, bro.
I know. Get off me, bro. I love that, bro.
Yeah, honestly, bro, you know what? That wasn't even the best interception that game for a loop, though. Like the interception before that one, it was, oh my god, it was stupid because it was like he came off his defender and turned his head and just like caught it over his shoulder,
like he knew it was coming.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it was like, that game, I was in Georgia. I was, because I actually went to high school in Atlanta. So I was in Georgia for Thanksgiving and I was over at my buddy's house and we were watching the game in his den, and me and my buddy, we're from Charlotte. We were going off in the basement. Everybody's upstairs eating food. We're going off in the basement. I'm running around the basement. Dude, it was, 2015 is a great selection.
Yeah, I remember my mother-in-law is a Dallas Cowboys fan. So we were hosting Thanksgiving. So like my mom and dad and family are here. My mother-in-law's here. They're all here eating in the living room. I'm like, well, if we're hosting, we're going to watch football while we're doing this. So the Panthers are on top of it. I'm like, we got to watch this. And they were undefeated. And she was talking a whole lot of smack going into that game.
We were underdogs going into that game.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. We were so disrespected that year. I think the Cowboys had the Cowboys won like 3 games. They were like 3-8, and everybody was predicting the Cowboys to win. So the fact that we just come out on the road Thanksgiving against Dallas and just smacked them around, bro, that it was such a perfect moment that I think will live forever.
I'm remembering that game too. Alexander brings up a good point. It was interceptions on back-to-back plays. Like it was an interception either right before that or right after that, and it just kind of broke the game open. Cam had a touchdown run in that game that was exciting, kind of opened it up. Yeah, man, that was probably the peak of that 2015 Panthers team was that game. Like looking back on it, like it was just total domination. If not that, then the Arizona playoff game, man.
I was going to say that. Yeah, the Arizona. To me, that's the most dominating game I think I've probably seen from the Panthers.
Everything was going right. Like
everything, nothing. Yeah, it's like nothing could go wrong that game. We can't Cam jumps like 15 yards and flips inside the end zone and gets up like nothing. Like I was like, dude, he can't go wrong.
I was at that game. They were playing the Texans. I was in the opposite end zone, so we could see it like all the way down, and so like we saw him flip in, and the whole crowd was like. And then, like, literally before we get our breath out, he springs up. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest thing ever. And we go to 3-0 or whatever. And it was like 95 degrees in the stadium that day. So we were all sweating. But we were having a ball.
And
those days.
That same season, we shut out the Falcons the first time we played them, like 38-0.
Yeah.
And I knew. That's when I knew we had the squad, bro.
We played them on Christmas too. Wasn't it that Christmas game or something? We were blowing them out or something because there's like there's an image of Ron Rivera like
that was the next year.
Like
I think that was the next year. Yeah, I don't think that was 2015.
I think that might have been
like 38-0 or something. And there's a picture of him doing like this with the score like underneath them, and it says like Happy Holidays or whatever. Like,
I think that was the next year because the second that first loss that we had, well, the only loss we had that year was the Falcons. Second game.
Yeah,
and they sneak one out.
I don't think we beat the Falcons the next year because remember the next year in 2016 was the Julio Jones game.
Yeah, I think it was either 2013 or 14 that Christmas game happened.
Yeah, and there were some dudes on that team, man, on that defense. Like you said, that was Josh Norman's contract year. That year kind of started out weird anyway because Kelvin Benjamin gets hurt early in preseason. Norman and Cam get into the skirmish in the training camp or whatever. None of us expected the Panthers to do what they did.
Yeah.
And even as it was going on, it was kind of a slow build. But once they got past like the first month of playing, we're like, okay, this team's actually pretty good. And like it just started growing. That's probably one of my favorite just teams to follow. And I tell Stu all the time on Believe in Panthers, I'm like, man, y'all look like y'all had the most fun out of any team I've ever covered or been a fan of. Like it looked like it was fun to come to work. You know, like they just enjoyed being around each other. And he agrees. He's like, yeah, man, it was like we were going to follow Cam wherever. He was the leader of the band or whatever. By the end of the year, we're all taking pictures on the sideline and dabbing and everything else. And like, I mean, even like Greg Olson and all those guys are joining it. Like they all bought in. And like, it takes a guy at quarterback like Cam Newton to get a team to buy in like that completely.
We were the originators of the sideline celebrations.
Yes.
Now everyone's doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, now everyone's doing
some celebrations after 2015. Like remember, because they were banned for a while, and then
they were.
The
NFL and it was such a taboo when we were doing it. You know, when Cam started, it was such a, it was like, gosh, y'all are rubbing it in
what's wrong
face.
With him?
Oh yeah, right. It was such a taboo when we started it.
Show some respect to the game. Like where you
salty.
Yeah, it's like, dude, they're haters, man.
Meanwhile, they're giving out like 60 footballs to kids in the stands because they scored like 60 touchdowns or whatever that year.
Oh, remember the mom from Tennessee that like wrote a letter how she had to tell her daughters to watch the cheerleaders and don't watch the excessive celebrations. Like, come on, man, what we're doing?
There were like 3 people that year because somebody from Green Bay complained about Cam snatching the
Cam
flag
took
down.
the flag out the stands, bro.
Then Seattle. So after we beat Seattle, that was the game I knew we were serious. After we beat Seattle,
when they drove down, when he drove down to Olsen.
That was the game. After we scored that last drive, I was like, dude, if we get to the playoffs, we're going to be something dangerous.
It was either Seattle and the Giants game.
The Giants.
Norman and Beckham were going back and forth in that game. Like it was like a hockey match between those two. I don't know how.
Cam set a record that game. I think he was the first quarterback that had threw for 300 yards, rushed for 100 yards, and scored 5 touchdowns. Like Cam had went off that game.
He did that against the Redskins. Well, they were Redskins back then. He did it against the Commanders that season too. Right. He threw like 4 touchdowns, ran for like 2, no interceptions. Like it's still. We talked about this last week about Cam being in the Hall of Fame. And I started going through some of the records he's had. Some of that was 2015, where he was just doing stuff that nobody's done
never had been heard of before. Yeah.
Monty, what's in your mind? So Cody picked 2015. In your mind, what Panther defense is the best defense in Panthers history to date? Which one would you go to war with?
I'm gonna first say, but I didn't expect him to go 2015. I thought he was gonna go a different year. So that's a very good pick. I'm gonna still go with 2013. 2013 was 2015 was the final product of what started in 2013. You know, I feel like, especially defensively, statistically, we were better in almost every category. And when you just compare us to the NFL that year, we were just, honestly, 2013 was the Seattle historic defensive year that they had. If you look at the numbers, we're literally right behind them in almost every category. You know, if you look at the just points allowed per game, I think they allowed 13 points per game. We allowed 15 points per game. You know, that was second in the NFL, and I think that would have set a record at that time had we went on, you know, and played further in the playoffs. You know, but I think that's another. You know, they averaged 14.4 points per game. We averaged 15.1 points per game. So we were right behind the historic Seattle defense that we all look at with the Hall of Famers like I'm drew a blank, but Cam Chancellor, the historic defense that we all look at with Seattle, we are right behind them there. Even with yards per game, we were finished second in the league with total yards per game. I think that also was the year we had the 60 sack season.
Mhm.
We're talking about safety play. Mike Mitchell, who I still stand by today, Kurt Coleman, we were blessed to have two great safeties back to back because we let Mike Mitchell go and then signed Kurt Coleman, and he just penned it out for us. Because I feel like Mike Mitchell could have been an all-pro safety for us, who also had 4 sacks and 4 interceptions that year. Luke Kuechly had back-to-back. Well, he was the defensive rookie of the year in 2012. 2012 and 2013 finished the defensive player of the year. So I feel like we also had the best defensive player in the league that year. So 2013, in my opinion, it's great. As crazy as Greg Cardi was, we had a 15 sack guy on one end and an 11 sack guy on Charles Johnson on the other side. I feel like we were just the best complete defense in Carolina Panther history that I've ever seen before. I feel like that year, that was also the year I think we sacked Eli Manning 6 times, and it was like consecutive. Like every time he touched the field, we got after Eli Manning. So that would probably be my number one choice for Carolina Panther defense of all time.
I'm trying to find their looking for their stats here. We came across, first of all, the roster. I wanted to look at their roster because 2013, you're right. They had some ballers on that team.
Yeah,
That team
I got you here, man.
before.
They had Charles Johnson on one end. They had Greg Hardy on the other end. Star Lotulelei. I think that was when K'Wan Short wasn't starting, but he was getting a lot of reps there.
He just got drafted.
Yeah, right.
Drafted in 2013
exactly.
draft. Yeah,
right. Thomas Davis was still balling. That was before he started. Had all pro. Like again, I feel like that was just the foundation of what we saw before 2015 because Thomas Davis wasn't Pro Bowl for worthy that year, but he still was balling. But then we have Luke Kuechly as defensive player of the year. Like it's only so much that you're required to do because he was everywhere that year. For the safety, we also had Chase Blackburn, Captain Munderland was still balling. Melvin White, a solid corner outside. Then you had Mike Mitchell and Quentin Michael. So we had a solid squad that year. I think the players on the field probably were a little better in 2015 than in 2013, but collectively, I feel like there was just a better unit, than what it was in 2015.
So if I had to compare 2013 to 2015, I'm looking at the defense of the secondary because 2015's got 2013 probably beat because you got Josh Norman, yes, but he wasn't starting in 2013. I'm trying to remember who. I think it was Drayton Florence and Captain Munderland were the cornerbacks.
I will say that, I think the DBs were probably better in 2015. But bro, when you add Greg Hardy to the mix, look, he was going to be in our long-term plans until all the craziness happened with him. Like, remember they called him the Kraken, remember?
Kraken, right.
Dude, he was a problem. He was a serious
problem.
Issue. He's the perfect story of like when keeping it real goes wrong, pretty much.
Right.
Like he just didn't understand like what was in front of him. I saw something on Twitter this weekend. I don't know how true it is.
He's working at Walmart.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's true, man.
How is that possible?
It kind of seems like he was working for Spectrum at Walmart, like signing people up for Spectrum.
Even worse.
Worse. I think that's true, bro.
Yeah, they work from commission. They're not even getting paid by the hour. It's like you got to buy some cable for them to get paid. So, man, but like, look, the front for 2013, Mario Addison. Well, you had Hardy on one end, you had Charles Johnson on the other end. Star rookie that fell to us in the draft should have been the number one pick.
And Star, if he didn't win Defensive Rookie of the Year, he fought for Defensive Rookie of the Year that entire season. He was one of the better rookies that season. And then like I said, 2 years later, K'Wan Short comes on and becomes an All Pro. So it was like we had a squad 2013, man. It just wasn't fully developed, in my opinion. You just didn't see the full return at that point.
The linebackers, Davis, of course, Luke Kuechly in his second year. AJ Klein was still with us. Dan Connor, remember Dan Connor? He was with us.
Chase Blackburn still was playing good snaps.
Yeah,
I know. This is Monti's pick, but also the first that we went 1-3 to start the season.
So we went like 7 games in a row where we,
So then the defense just came alive.
I think this is when the whole aura of Ron Rivera and like Riverboat Ron and all that stuff really started happening. because they started gambling a little bit in second halves to kind of start winning some games.
But he was on the hot seat this year in 2013.
Yeah, once we started 1-3, and I think especially the way we started, because I think we lost that game, that ugly game in Buffalo at the last second, you know, and I think that's kind of what started that 1 point game. And dude, that kind of what started the heat with Ron Rivera. But then he ripped it after that New York game, and we sacked because New York was still good at that time. You know, we sacked
nothing. Yeah,
and we sacked Eli Manning 6 times that game. I was like, dude, we got like that defense is something serious. And then we beat San Francisco shortly after that, and I was like, yeah, man, we have a squad. We just
San Francisco, yeah.
They lost that. We have it.
They lost at Arizona, and then they rattled off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins straight. At Minnesota, at Tampa, at San Francisco. They beat Tampa again. Lost to the Saints December 8th, and then they won their final 3 against the Jets, the Saints, and the Falcons. They ended up losing in the playoffs. I want to say 2013 was to the Seahawks.
Yeah. That was the 49ers.
San Francisco, that was when Steve.
Yeah, because that's when we were wearing the all black uniforms at home.
Yeah. Smitty got hurt the first quarter. I remember that now.
23-10. We couldn't really score. San Francisco was good themselves. I think did they get to the Super Bowl that year? 2013? No, I think that was Seattle. I think Seattle made it. Yeah.
Yes. Seattle was a Super Bowl winner.
I think it was Seattle versus San Francisco in the NFC championship that year. And I'm sitting there looking, because I'm sitting there looking at the other teams that were in that.
Because Seattle won the whole thing that year.
They won. Matter of fact, that was the game Cam Chancellor picked Cam off and took it to the house, and that was what did it there.
It ain't one of our defenses, but do y'all remember the Seattle game that Cam Chancellor jumped the line of scrimmage not once but twice, like in a row, like to block I think it was a field goal attempt or something that we had. And the first time he did it, it was almost like a glitch in the Matrix. Like, did that happen? Did he do that? And then like Carolina didn't adjust or think that he could do it again, and he did it again. Like literally, jumped over. I've never seen it before. I've never seen it in high school.
But they banned it now, right? Like now you're not even allowed to do that.
To jump over him.
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to do it. Now, he didn't even use anybody because I know you can't use somebody to like jump
and you can't touch you can't touch the other offensive lineman when you're doing it. Like physically can't touch them at all when you jump them. And
yeah, absolutely. And now, I mean, he didn't touch anybody. He literally hurdled the whole line. Like, I don't know, that might still be legal. I don't know. He timed the snap. So like by the time he was midair, it was already coming back to the holder. And I was like, oh my God, this dude's a cyborg.
Cam Chancellor was a freak of nature, man. There's no reason why. And then when you look back at his combine time, his 40 time is atrocious. But when you see him on the field, Cam Chancellor was a freak of nature, man.
Yeah.
That playoff was a heartbreak, man. When we lost to the 49ers. Man, and we were wearing the all black too. We look so cold out there.
I have a love-hate relationship with those all black uniforms because to me they're the sweetest looking uniforms in the entire NFL. But our win-loss record is horrific. Like we cannot win in those uniforms. Like
people think they're cursed, man.
If we're like modeling them or something, all right, fine. But like if we got to play like a playoff game in them, I'm like scared to death. Or at night or something.
Right, like let's get the all black unis out early in the season so we can get that stink off. So then later in the season, because it's ugly, man.
I'm gonna go a different route than the two you got. Normally I don't chime in, but on this one I wanted to chime in just to get your opinions on it. I'm gonna go 2003. The 2003 Panthers defense had a little bit of everything, and they were nasty. They were a very nasty group of individuals. Let me pull up their roster here. In that draft, they drafted Ricky Manning in that draft. It ended up being on that defense, who had the huge playoffs, the 3 interceptions versus the Bears in that playoff run. Jordan Gross was the number 1 pick overall that year for the Panthers. Didn't really get a whole lot of help defense wise. It was already kind of in place. And here, okay, so compared to what you guys had spelled out before, the 2003 Carolina Panther defense, in my mind, might be tops in terms of all 3 levels. So like on defensive line, you had, in my opinion, the best defensive line the Panthers have ever had. Brinson Buckner, Chris Jenkins, Julius Peppers, Mike Rucker. You're not going to get much better than that. That's just Chris Jenkins.
I was just about to say that Chris Jenkins was a different animal at that point, man.
You had to double him like every time.
Every single play,
So you got to double him, and Julius Peppers is over here on the side, like a 3-4 year vet. like coming in, like he's 6'8", 290, and he's man.
And Julius Peppers wasn't even in his prime at that time. He
No.
was just starting to hit that. He was just hitting that stride.
He just got drafted in
Yeah, right.
2001. So I mean,
right.
Like,
I was about to say he was just starting to hit his stride at that point.
Man, so he was the number 2 overall pick 2 years prior. Your linebacking core, you had Dan Morgan at middle linebacker, Will Witherspoon, who we don't talk about enough as an outside linebacker, because I think Thomas Davis kind of overshadows what he was doing here. But Spoon was Davis before Davis was here. Like,
yeah,
Will was doing his thing.
It's funny that was Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis 1.0
combo.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like that was the first iteration of it.
And then the defensive backs, Ricky Manning ended up starting. Mike Minter, strong safety. Dante Wesley was a starting cornerback. And I want to say it was either Colin Branch or Deion Grant that was back there. I can't remember in the defense. But when did we have Chris Gamble?
That's what I actually was thinking. I was like, Chris Gamble wasn't on that squad.
No,
that's what I thought. Yeah, I thought he was a starting corner.
I think he got drafted in 2004. So I think he might have got drafted right after this. But yeah, that team, I'm just kind of looking over the overall team now, and I'm looking through it. The running back core with Davis and Foster, Nick Goings, Brad Hoover. The wide receiver room had Moose, Ricky Prohl, Steve Smith.
That's probably I remember most about that squad was the offense. I mean, now the defense was like you said, stellar. I probably remember the offense a little more because of Deshaun Foster. That was those when I played Madden. Those were my guys. That was Thunder and Lightning before Thunder and Lightning before it became Stu and
and that's this 03 Panthers team, they ended the Dallas Cowboys run pretty much because they were the wild card team they played. They beat them 29-10 in Carolina. That pretty much effectively ended the triplets. Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin's run or whatever in the NFC. That St. Louis double overtime game, I probably woke up my entire apartment complex because of that. The Steve Smith 69-yard slant.
Yeah.
Very first play of second overtime. Soon as he caught it, I was like, oh, there's nobody's gonna catch him. And then that Philly 14-3 game. I remember Moose on the cover of Sports Illustrated in the end zone, like this, like with his finger over. It was like the Panthers are for real. We're going to the Super Bowl. And then they got to that Super Bowl against Tom Brady and the Patriots, man. And, maybe that might actually pop up here in the next couple of seconds, because the next topic that we really need to get to before we run out of time, who was the Panthers' biggest rival? I know that it's easy to say it's somebody in the division, but they've got some rivalries with some teams outside the NFC South, too, that you might be able to constitute as bigger. And we've talked about some of those teams here in the first segment. Monty, I'll let you go first on this one. Who, in your mind, is the Panthers' biggest rival?
Biggest rival. See, when I look at rivalries, it has to be longer than like a 3 to 4 year period, and right. I feel like that's where because it would have been Seattle if it wasn't for if it had been only such a short window. I think our biggest rival, in my opinion, probably will be the Falcons. I think the Falcon. I think that 85 rivalry is a real thing. I think that's a real thing between. We're just 2-3 hours from Charlotte, about 3 hours, 3.5 hours from Charlotte to Atlanta. So I think that's a real thing. And yeah, man, I really think that when it comes to that division, I've been clear about this all, since we started the show, that I think the Falcons are the closest team to us when it comes to competing for us in this division. And yeah, I think they give us the biggest competition on a year-to-year basis. Last year was the first year we beat the Falcons in 4 years, and we've celebrated after beating the Falcons, because they've swept us for quite some time now. And I feel like it always feels good to beat the Saints. In my opinion, it feels so much better beating the Falcons, and especially in Atlanta. So for me, that's that. And also probably I'm a little more biased. I used to live in Atlanta, so I was for a long time one of the only Panther fans that I knew in Georgia. So so yeah, it was. I'm probably gonna go to Falcons as our biggest rival.
Cody, your thoughts on this? Who's the Panthers' biggest rival?
Bro, me and Monti got too much in common, dog. Because people don't know.
You wouldn't tell on Twitter, there's
that's what I'm saying, bro.
That's my boy, man.
Yeah, I thought these dudes were supposed to fight or something. But the reason I say that, I was actually born in Atlanta. I'm from Georgia, so I've always been around Falcons fans forever.
Yep.
And look, man, maybe there's a better answer. I don't even care, man. It's the Atlanta Falcons, bro. It doesn't matter if we're having a terrible season. If we manage to beat the Falcons,
it's a good day,
bro. That just makes the season even better, man. Like I don't know, something about Atlanta. Also, their fans, bro. Like the Atlanta
they're
Falcons
terrible.
fans,
Oh,
bro. They talk so much smack when they like. What do they even have to like claim to, bro?
Mhm.
And I just feel like they're fair weather fans. Like
yep.
whenever the team's doing good, oh, that's when they want to talk
Oh,
the
they're the
loudest and
loudest. Oh my
get
God.
real big and like trying to flex on people. But the
But when they're
minute that they're
terrible,
trash,
oh, bro,
bro,
you cannot find a Falcon fan anywhere, bro.
no, bro, straight up, dude. So it's like,
28-3.
yeah,
Oh,
I mean, that
ah,
they have things in their history where it's just like, yeah, but we didn't do that. We didn't do that. That wasn't
bro,
us.
that Super Bowl I'll never forget this because, like I said, I used to live in Atlanta, so a lot of my friends are Falcon fans. So the year before when we lose the Super Bowl, I'd never hear the end of it. So of course, leading up to the Super Bowl, I can't hear. We're trash. They're going to the Super Bowl. They got a MVP in Matt Ryan. Julio Jones is a freak of nature, and bro, I troll my cousin to this day. It's like we lose the Super Bowl and it sucks. Y'all set a record in losing the NFL Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like y'all set NFL records when y'all lose. And it's like we don't do that, bro. And
No, that's not us.
Oh, dude, it was the best feeling in the world.
We're gonna give you an exciting game. But we're not gonna
we're not going to say we're not going to blow a
point lead.
that Super Bowl. Me
with
and
a
my
quarter and a
brother,
half to go.
yeah, my brother and I had a bet going for the Super Bowl. He had picked the Falcons and I picked the Patriots, and whoever won had to buy the other like a real fancy dinner. I'm not talking like some Applebee's or nothing like that. Like we had to go to dinner.
There we go.
And the whole time he's making fun of me and just getting on my case, and I'm feeling terrible that the Falcons are gonna win the Super Bowl before us. But dude, then it started the other way,
Had to have
bro. Let me tell you, I was insufferable the rest of the night. Bro, we went to a Brazilian steakhouse here in Charlotte called Shima. Bro, we
clean him out,
paid
brother.
out, bro, all on his ticket. I said, you never bet on the Falcons.
I knew once they got to that third quarter and the Falcons refused to run the ball, I knew they were going to lose. I was just what are y'all doing? Like, this is Tom Brady. Y'all keep giving him chances. He's going to take it. Like, how many years do you need to see this guy do this? So
after he brought it within the touchdown game, I was like, dude, y'all don't know. Y'all talking about the GOAT that y'all are playing right now.
Run
like,
the ball. Run the ball.
Yeah.
Once they made it a one-score game, I was like, dude, the Patriots might mess around and win this game. And yeah,
it was like the Patriots wanted to win the game. The Falcons were trying not to lose the game, and
it's one of my favorite football memories that doesn't involve the Panthers. Like straight up, that's a good memory, no matter what.
I mean, honestly, if you really want to be real, I mean, the Panthers' biggest rival is probably Tom Brady. I mean, he's not playing anymore, but he's caused more heartache than any other team I can think of, either from the Patriots in that Super Bowl in 03 or him in Tampa to end his career. So we had to see him twice a year. I mean, granted, I'm biased because I hate Tom Brady, but that I was going to say Patriots, but not so much anymore because Brady's not there. And I'm like, well, maybe Tampa. I'm like, well, he's not there either. So what's the common denominator here? It's Tom Brady.
Yeah, and Tom Brady just brought Tampa out of the cellar because they were like the bottom dweller team in our division. Back they go. Yeah, right. They were one of the worst teams in the league, and they were just like the bottom dweller team in our division. And now, in 3 years they've won a championship. So it's like that's trash.
Kristen Ledane brings up an interesting one. Coming from a DC family, Skins fans hate Ravens fans as much as Cowboy and Eagle fans. I would nominate Washington as a rival for Carolina, and that's more from the fan side. Growing up here in the Triad, I've told this story a bunch. Before we had the Panthers, this was Redskin country up here. This was the 1 o'clock game. It was the Washington Redskins in North Carolina because there was no team here, so it was Washington's area. And then usually the Cowboys would be on at 4. So that was kind of your thing, which is probably why I was a Redskin fan growing up as a kid, and then eventually became a Cowboys fan right around 90 when they drafted Emmitt Smith. And then once we got the Panthers in 95, I left all of it behind and I had my home team. But before that, I was all NFC East. It was because that's all they really showed here. And when the Panthers showed up, it took Washington's TV slot from the state pretty much. So they're no longer on at 1 unless the Panthers aren't playing. So if you ask a Washington fan how they feel about Carolina, their eyes turn red, the steam starts coming out their ear. Like they don't even know why they hate Carolina, but that's why, because they can't watch the Skins. Well, the Commanders, they can't watch them as often as they could before because of the existence of the Panthers. Now,
well, they're not missing much, but I
no,
mean,
they ain't missing really anything.
No,
But,
not at all.
maybe our
There's
coach. I mean, you got Rivera. I'd be happy. But
there's also there's also a lot of Cowboys fans here in North Carolina. There's a lot of a lot
Steelers
of
fans.
Steelers, a
There's
lot of Steelers fans.
That's actually what I was going
to
to say. I was going to say most of my family are either because I agree with you, Des. They were a lot of Cowboy fans here, and that's one thing I realized. Steeler fans just travel well. You know, they're Steeler fans everywhere.
Man.
Oh, dude, Steeler fans travel
Blue Bloods
everywhere. Yeah, because
I went to this was Jake Delhomme was still the quarterback. I was doing photography for Sports Carolina Monthly, actually. So I was on the field during a preseason game. It was Carolina and Indy. So like Peyton Manning was here. What's his name? His wide receiver. Like they had some of their first string guys here, and they were playing. It was like week 2 or week 3, and it was a night game. And we were doing that. I'm trying to. Oh, now I remember my train of thought. We left the stadium, and we were walking through Uptown Charlotte, and I looked around and I realized how many people were there. There were Steelers fans, like with Steeler towels. They were screaming Steelers and walking up and down the street. And I turned to my friend. I was like, "Didn't we play the Colts? The Steelers aren't even."
Dude, the Steelers travel well. Hey, and Des, I'll nominate the Steelers because now that I think about it, every time we played Pittsburgh, they kick our rear end bad.
They really get in us.
They curve stomp us every time we played the Steelers. So I'll nominate them as well because I would love to get some get back with Pittsburgh. You know, they travel well and they beat up on us almost every single time we play them, man.
I was gonna mention you got to mention Seattle too. That we had a little stretch with Seattle when Russell Wilson was there versus Cam. Mid 2010s where we went back and forth with them, finally broke the seal with them and got past them, and then that kind of dissipated. Now with Wilson gone, that's not really there anymore. You got to mention the Saints, but the Saints feel more like there's not as much respect, I think, between the Saints and the Panthers as there is with, like, say, the Falcons or the Bucks. The Saints, it feels more like hatred. Like, especially after Bountygate. After Bountygate, it was like, oh, okay, y'all here doing this? All right, cool. Like, I don't think they really respect. If I had to pick a team in the division that the Panthers might get into a fight with in the end zone,
easily. They've done it. We've already done it before.
Steve Smith. Robin Harper, and then their teammates like 3 years later or whatever. But
I was talking about Swole Bones when Swole Bones was in the end zone because wasn't that the Saints and he got thrown out the game for punching them. I think that was was that not the Saints game?
That might have been. Yeah, I'm thinking of one where Steve Smith was coming in.
For Roman Harper.
Oh, Roman Harper.
Yeah.
And then they say you don't push Steve Smith, and so of course he hops up, and they start going back and forth. And then both teams are in there, and like Cam comes around dancing and everything. I mean, like I think that was 2015.
Yeah,
they did. It was 2015. It had to be earlier, like 2013 probably.
I think they did an interview recently with Steve Smith and Roman Harper talking about that. But I mean, so for me, like I'm from Atlanta. But fun fact, all my family is pretty much from Louisiana. So I got a bunch of New Orleans Saints fans in my family. So those are the two rivalries that hit different for me. New Orleans Saints and Atlanta Falcons. Like my brother is a diehard Saints fan. So, that year they swept us 3 times. Bro, that was 2017. God, that one just felt bad.
And we were right behind them in the standings all year too, and then saw them in the playoffs, and was just almost like inevitable. We're like, we can't beat this team this year for some reason. But
we almost won on the road, man. Our receivers couldn't catch nothing, bro.
The Panthers haven't beaten the Steelers since 1996.
It's ugly.
That's wild.
We are 1-7.
That's wild.
and bro, it is not just that we lose; we get beat beat to God knows what. They actually beat up on us every single time we play the Steelers.
They're the ones that derailed us in 2017. Yep. Remember, we had Norv Turner and Cam was spreading the ball around.
Christian McCaffrey
had the highest completion percentage of his career.
I think Stu was still on that team too. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think Stu was still. I think it was Stu and McCaffrey sharing.
That was Steve's. I mean, that was CNC's rookie year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I mean, so just missed opportunities, like Ron Rivera would say, missed opportunities. I think we're towards the end here. I was looking to see if there's anything else we wanted to touch on before we got out of here. Next week, of course, the schedule release is Thursday with the NFL. I think we're planning on I'll have a Believe in Carolina Panthers new episode Thursday with Jonathan Stewart and Skylar Callahan from Sports Illustrated. It may be our season finale because we've been going since August pretty much every week. So typically around this time of the year, we stop for about a month or so in the dead period, and then we come back right around mid-July when training camps are reopening and everything else. But of course, there's other stuff Panther related that I'm on. Lord knows I'm on enough where you'll be able to hear my opinion on the Panthers without believing Panthers being on. That'll be on Tuesday on this network here on youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio. You can hear that live. I believe we're going live at 2:30 Thursday. So keep an eye out for that link so you can check that out. If you're watching right now, actually do us a huge favor. Actually go and subscribe to the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel. We're trying to get over 1,000 subscribers. Last time I checked, I think we crossed over 800 Friday when we were doing our live show for Out of Pocket in the afternoons. So we're less than 200 away. We're trying to get to 1,000. So if you like what you're listening to, like what you're watching on Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, please do me a favor, go subscribe while you're here today. Guys, anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just want to call my shot before the schedule comes out. My prediction, and I've been saying this forever, week 1 at home, Carolina Panthers against the Houston Texans. Number 1 pick versus number 2 pick.
That sounds like something that Roger Goodell would do.
That's going to be the season opener.
Hey,
you heard it here first.
I thought you were gonna say Carolina versus Chicago because that would be because I think we play Chicago next year.
I think we do.
We do.
Yeah,
we do.
Those would be probably my top 2 picks.
I keep hearing Justin Fields looking a lot better than he did last year, but again, that's coming out of Chicago, and I've yet to see a quarterback Chicago.
They're already sharing clips of him throwing to DJ Moore. They're waiting on that. Bears fans are like our biggest antagonists now.
Right now,
like Bears fans are like
go away.
Like, this happens every year. Right. It happens every year. What, 2 years ago it was the Jets because the Jets would slander us because we got Sam Darnold.
Oh right.
Then then the last year was the Browns. So so now we got just the Bears on the plate this time. I hope we smack the Bears something serious too, man. Like I'm tired of Bears fans.
Yeah. I mean, we've run across the Bears a couple times, playoffs and things of that sort. They probably still hate Steve Smith to this day because that dude dismantled them by himself in 05. I still remember that playoff game where he was doing everything.
I think that's still an NFL record. That may be one of the best performances by a wide receiver in a playoff game to this day.
It might be, yeah. I think he had a kickoff return or a punt return in that game too, or something crazy. Like he was 2005. Steve Smith was a vibe.
It's different. Oh my god, different.
I think you know what? No, and I say that too. I think he's the last Triple Crown winner.
Cooper Kupp just recently beat that record.
Okay.
The year they won the Super Bowl. Yeah.
So it was what is it like? Lead the league in touchdowns, catches, and yards.
And yards. Yeah.
Oh, Cooper Kupp did. I didn't know Cooper Kupp did. So before him, Steve Smith was the last one.
He was the last person to do it. Yep.
Wow.
It was like almost 20 years. He almost held that record.
And doesn't Jake Delhomme? It might have been broken since, but I thought Jake Delhomme also had the most
Super Bowl.
He still has
but
it.
I thought he also had like the most yards or passing yards or something like that.
I think it's the longest air yards.
Super Bowl. I think that's Brady in that Eagles Super Bowl because Brady 500 yards or whatever in that game and that loss.
Yeah.
But no, I was at the Pro Football Hall of Fame a couple of years ago up in Canton because I have family in Cleveland, and they have a thing in there of the ball that Delhomme threw to Moose. I think it was 78 yards for the touchdown. I think it's still the longest touchdown pass in Super Bowl history from Super Bowl 38, that 2003 team. So we'll get into that again. If you guys want to drop us topics you want us to debate, you can do so. Our Twitter handles are right here. Just DM us on Twitter and be like, hey, here would be a good topic I'd want to hear on Embrace Debate. And we'll take into consideration and probably do it. We'll look at the schedule next week and we'll debate on the schedule, some of the bigger games who we think might be surprise teams that might fall off, things of that sort. So definitely check back in with us then. We will be back with a brand new episode next Monday at 10:30 live here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel and their Facebook watch. For everybody else, enjoy your Monday. Get your work week started right. This has been Embrace Debate. So for Cody, for Monti, I'm Des. Peace out. We'll see you next Monday.
Keep pounding.